Well, it is now my honor and pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning. It's Reverend Sally Robbins. Reverend Sally Robbins has been a minister for 23 years and has served as senior minister of 3 churches. Sally is currently living in Asheville, North Carolina, with the love of her life, her new husband, Bob. So congratulations, Reverend Sally, and congratulations, Bob. Many blessings. Please, CLF community, welcome Reverend Sally Robbins.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. Thank you all that are making today's service possible. It is such a privilege to be back with Creative Living Fellowship. I can still consider it my home, even though I left Phoenix a couple years ago and live here now. There's just such a consciousness and such a beauty in every soul that is there. So I am just so honored to be here. Thank you, Dr. Sherry, for this privilege. So I would invite you, if you feel so inclined, I know sometimes with Zoom, it's so easy for us to multitask when we're in the midst of our Sunday service. And that's a great thing, but I invite you during the time of the talk here, I invite you, if you're fixing your breakfast or checking your emails, just come back to being in this full present moment. Because I'm going to know with you that you're going to hear exactly what you need to hear. You're going to feel exactly what you need to feel. You're going to see exactly what you need to see. And so that will be enhanced by you being fully present in this holy instant. So I just know that each and every one of you are going to be blessed this morning. I'm going to start with a wonderful example of how we can use teachable moments in our lives, because my talk title is I Fought the Law and the Law Won. Because the reality is the law always wins, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So yesterday morning I woke up, and I'm always noodling throughout the week, what am I going to talk about on Sundays? I guess speak at several different churches, and I always, say, Spirit, what is mine to share? What is mine to say? I woke up yesterday morning in the middle of a nightmare. And in this nightmare, which has been a recurring nightmare of mine for many years, maybe you'll identify with this because it's a universal nightmare. It was, I was trying to get to a church to deliver a talk, and I was wearing not the right clothes. I was wearing like gym clothes or something. And I didn't have makeup on, and my hair looked a mess. I had no notes, and I didn't have my PowerPoint. I was just beside myself because I wasn't prepared. Can anyone relate to that dream in some form in your life? Yes. So it's my subconscious talking to me about just letting go and surrendering to the moment, and knowing that I am always prepared, always safe, always protected. And so I surrendered in my nightmare. I surrendered to that. And because usually I get really frustrated, and I just surrendered and said, okay, God, all is well. All is well. And in that moment, all of a sudden I found makeup, and I started putting my makeup on. And then I found some clothes to wear, and things were happening. And then these ideas were coming to me, and I was like, this is the best talk ever. I am so excited. I was like, I got to remember this when I wake up, because I knew I was in a dream. And it was at that moment I woke up, and I literally shot out of bed, and I ran and I started writing things down, because I thought that was the best talk ever. I've got to capture that somehow. And then I laughed at myself because I realized I'd missed the point. The point was not that I had to capture what happened then. The point was that I'm always provided with exactly the right thing to say. If I am truly understanding that I am the mouthpiece of God, that I'm the hands and feet of God, that I will know exactly what to do. I'll know exactly what to say and how to say it. So that's my prayer. That's my prayer. So I put this talk together because I realized, wow, I get to know again and again and again, even when I think I know it, and then something like that comes up and goes, okay, you've still got some work to do. I get to know that I can trust. I can totally trust that Spirit's got my back, that the law is always working for me, not against me, for me. Even when it doesn't look like it, the law is always working for me. And I just have to recognize that I'm the one fighting the system here, and that as soon as I reframe that life is here to uplift and support me, things change just in the blink of an eye, just like in my dream. And I remembered a story of when I was very young. I was in the first grade, and I had just entered elementary school. So this was a big deal. I remember the playground. This was at Fort Knox Elementary School in Patuxent River, Maryland, where my father was stationed at the time. My father was a Navy pilot. And so we moved every couple of years, and we happened to be living there at the time. And I was entering first grade. And I remember going out one of the first recesses we had, and there was a bully out there. He was a much older kid. He was a bigger kid. And for some reason, he decided to pick on me. And he started, just, picking on me, calling me names, things like that. So I went over to where the teacher, who was kind of overseeing the playground, stood, and I stood next to her. And of course, he knew he couldn't do anything while I was standing next to her. And that became, for weeks, instead of playing with the other kids, I immediately went to stand next to the teacher because I didn't feel safe with him out there. And then one day I decided, you know what? This isn't working for me anymore. I want to play with my friends. And so I decided to not stand next to the teacher in that moment. And I walked out and stood with my friends, and we were playing, doing something. And the bully saw me, and he comes up and he starts picking on me. And I don't know where this came from, but I assumed my spiritual authority. Do you know what I mean by it when I say that? I assumed my spiritual authority, that I had what it took no matter what. And I drew myself up to full height, which still was nowhere near him. And I looked him straight in the eye, and he immediately backed down, and he never bothered me again. That was such a valuable lesson for me to get in first grade, that here I was thinking something had to protect me. I had to have a law, and I had to understand that I am a law unto myself, that I am all the law I will ever need, and that every bit of abundance, wisdom, growth, all of those wonderful God qualities are always flowing to me and through me. I'm the only one that's blocking anything. And so from there, I realized, and I look back and I think, what a fabulous metaphor that was for me, to be standing next to the teacher, because that's who I thought my safety was entrusted to. And so I took my spiritual authority, and that's really what this talk is about today, is understanding that we are our own spiritual authority, and that as we use these spiritual laws that we talk about and we learn about in classes, if we are not practicing them, then we're just like the wisp of the wind. Whatever the way the wind is blowing, we can go with it, rather than standing strong in who we are and knowing the truth of who we are. That bully was calling me names, and at the end of the day, what I had to realize was, it doesn't matter what anyone calls me. It matters who I answer to and what I answer to, and knowing the truth of myself, that there's nothing that can harm me or change the beloved essence that is me. Nothing. So I realized that I would never be intimidated again. And when you get to that place, your whole vibration changes, because you raise that consciousness level to an understanding that doesn't attract that need for the lesson any longer. Does that make sense? So you and I, every time, life is always giving us feedback. Every time something happens and we go, oh, I get to learn about that. And maybe again, because now it's at a deeper level. So I realized that I had to transform my fear into faith in myself, becoming a law unto myself. I'm going to share my screen with you and show a quote from, it's actually one of my favorite books, and that book is This Thing Called You. If you have not read this book, I invite you to, because it truly is, I believe it's one of Holmes' best books. But in this book, he says, the greatest gift life could have made to you is yourself. You are a spontaneous, self-choosing center in life, in the great drama of being, the great joy of becoming, the certainty of eternal expansion. You could not ask for more, and more could not have been given. That is a fantastic promise, ladies and gentlemen. The certainty of eternal expansion. You are always expanding. You get to determine how quickly, but you are always, Ernest Holmes called that the upward spiral. You get to uh, evolve at your pace. And those of us on the spiritual path want to know the truth of the lessons that we espouse. I don't want to simply be someone who's saying wonderful, nice things. I want to be, as one of my former teachers told me, I want to be my own laboratory. I want to know that these principles, these laws work. And so as I move into that place of understanding that all I can do is move to a place of a deeper understanding again and again and again. The law never changes, but my consciousness can grow and evolve with it and move to a whole new frame of being in this world and living at a higher and higher level and higher vibration of acceptance. And all of a sudden, I still have challenges in my life, but they're not the challenges I had 5 years ago. That's how I know I'm growing. That's how I know I'm not stagnant. I'm not just staying at the same place. You and I, we all know people that have lived the same year again and again and again into their 70s and even 80s, but they haven't grown, they haven't moved, they haven't done anything to raise their consciousness. I don't want to be that. I want to be forever learning, forever going, wow, I've barely scratched the surface of knowing all the wonderful things that this universe provides us. And I want to be living at my best. I want to be a teachable spiritual student. There's no higher calling than that. Being fully teachable in who and what we are. And so, metaphorically speaking, I could still be standing next to that teacher. Do you know what I mean when I say that? I could still be standing there in my mind that I need something outside of me to protect me, that I need something beyond me to make something happen in my life. And so I'm going to ask you to really dig a little bit today. Who or what is your teacher, that person or thing that you stand next to, or that you are giving your power to? That's probably a better way to say it. Who or what are you giving your power to? Is it someone in your life, your spouse, your best friend? Is it a parent maybe? Is it an authority figure? Or could it be even this great job that you've got? You think, well, as long as I've got that, everything's hunky-dory. What if you really knew the truth? That you are a law unto yourself that can fully operate no matter what happens in your life, no matter what is taken out of your life, no matter what is placed into your life. Because the only real issue we have is how we deal with our issues. That's it. That's it. And so don't let your good get in the way of your better. Sometimes we get so comfortable with what's happening in our lives that we forget that we're here to grow, that we're here to evolve, we're here to move upward and that evolutionary chain. And so I invite you, if there's a place where maybe you're feeling a little bit comfortable, a place where you're feeling stuck even, this is the moment for you to say, I am a law unto myself, and I get to manifest and create my entire future. It rests in this moment right now as I claim my spiritual authority and I know the truth of who I am. That's what being a full-fledged spiritual being is all about. So I get to ask myself this a lot. Do I really believe these principles that I talk about and that I teach? Or are they just really nice sounding catchphrases and can I slip into some cliches every now and then? Or am I really using these principles day in and day out? because sometimes I feel like when I push myself, that I find myself scurrying back to the old limiting beliefs. Are you with me on that? That we sometimes go back to some of these old beliefs because we know that law always acts upon our beliefs, right? That's what we teach. That whatever we have when we choose at the top level of our three segments there in our metaphysical chart, that we are consciously choosing, and the law, the middle part, is always acting upon that. Doesn't matter what it is. If I know if I plant a corn seed, a cucumber is not going to grow there because the law is going to take that corn seed and grow it into a corn plant. The same thing happens in our mind. I love this analogy because I heard about this and I didn't quite believe it until I saw pictures of it. And I'm going to show you a picture in a second. But it's amazing sometimes when people get this idea, let's try something different with farming. And you know what a watermelon looks like. It's usually long, oblong. It's big, bulky. Sometimes they're round, but usually they're oblong. Well, they don't ship very well, and so there's breakage sometimes. And so as it's getting from the farm to the market, it just creates a lot of breakage and spoilage of some of the product. Some Japanese farmers figured out a really great idea. They said, what if we could create a watermelon that was easier to ship? What if it was square? And let me show you the picture of what they came up with, because it really moved me to understand that they were absolutely using the law. They made square watermelons. You see the picture on the right there. They created a plexiglass box that when the watermelon is growing on the ground, they then covered it. And so the watermelon could only grow, and then they could feed the tendrils up through the top there. And it had to grow in the shape of a box. And see on the left there, look how much easier that is to stack them and ship them and move them. And now I have no idea how it tastes, but the idea here is this, that too many times I have created a box and I've created a box and the law delivered what I created. And then I go, wait a minute, I thought I wanted a watermelon. I thought I was going to get an oblong watermelon. What the heck happened here? And then I blame the watermelon when it's really my box that created the problem. Are you with me? And so how many times have you found yourself, maybe you put yourself into a box situation that the law said, oh, that's what she wants. Let's deliver that. And then all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, that's not what I wanted. But I'm the one that created the box. And so I get to always examine if I'm truly doing my work, my inner work, and I'm saying this is what I want, and something else is showing up repeatedly, then I get to go, where's the error in my thinking? What box have I created that is limiting? Instead of getting my oblong watermelon, I'm getting my square. How can I break free of that? How can I get rid of that? How can I blast it to smithereens? And there's the work. There's the work that we get to do, because the Japanese farmers had the right idea that we get to manifest what it is that we want, but are we choosing correctly? Let me show you another quote that really sums this up beautifully. Because if you ever want to know how this works, I'm going to tell you one page in the Science Mind textbook that tells you this. Now, you'll find this on every other page, but go to page 52. Page 52. And here's what he says on page 52. It's almost like a Abbott and Costello. It's that funny when you think about this. He says, if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe that it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does. Only it does according to our belief that it will not. He goes on to say this. He goes on to say, this is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter in because of our doubts and fears. It is not a punishment imposed upon us by the Spirit of God, but an automatic result of failing constructively to use the law of God. If I'm getting watermelons that are square and I want watermelons that are oblong, I get to look to see what cause has created this, because the effect is not what I'm claiming. And I'm not constructively using the law of God here. And so, just like Abbott Costello, who's on first, it appears to work even when it appears not to work, because that's what we thought it wouldn't do. So you and I are constantly in that place of taking a look at what's not working in our lives and where am I fighting the law, because the law is always going to win. The law is always going to win. That's just the way it is. When I was living in the Baltimore area, I had two churches there, and Mike Dooley came to town, the author Mike Dooley. Now he is the tut.com is where his website is, and he has a million email subscribers to his daily thoughts. And that's how I first knew about him. Now he's also written several best-selling books. Well, he came to town and he was promoting one of his books, and he was talking about these wonderful messages that he sends out every day, and he was talking about his book and a lot about the law of cause and effect. And someone in the audience raised their hand and said, excuse me, Mike, this is wonderful and I love these wonderful thoughts, but could you give us something more advanced than the law of cause and effect? And without skipping a beat, Mike Dooley said, there is nothing more advanced than the law of cause and effect. And I've thought about that a lot because he was absolutely right. There is nothing more advanced. And if that's all we did was used our life, our time on this earth to understand the law of cause and effect, in the reading it talks about first cause, knowing that spirit is first cause and that everything else is us adding on to it. So we have to subtract what we think we know. If we just did that, if we just focused on how we are limiting ourselves, that spirit is never limiting us. Spirit is never putting us in a box. And there's always the upward expansion, that eternal expansion that he was talking about in this thing called you. Boy, if I just spent my time just understanding that, that would be a lifelong mission of mine, to understand just how the law of cause and effect is always at work in my life, always. You know, a year ago, I was writing my goals. I keep this thing called my personal life plan. And it's got several pages in there, and it's got 10 different goals that I have for different areas of my life. And I update it about once a quarter. And so about a year ago, I was updating it again last July. And there's always a relationship goal in there. And my goal at that time was, I'm married to the man of my dreams. And I had specific commitments that I had assigned to that goal. And it said to be every quality that I'm seeking in him, because in order to attract something, you have to be it, right? That's another law, the law of attraction. And the second thing I had was the requirement was to enter into the quantum field daily to prepare myself and to attract my perfect mate. And the third thing I had was to go out on a date by X date. And that was usually a few months into the future. And as I wrote this again last July, I realized that every quarter I was moving that date out, that I wasn't following through on that commitment to myself, because I was honestly quite scared of going out on a date. And I realized, you do have to date somebody before you marry them. That is helpful to do that. And I realized that I was out of integrity. I was declaring a goal and an intention in my life, and I wasn't following through on the steps that were needed to create that in my life. We say treat and move your feet. You got to have some action to go with your inner work. You got to do both. And I realized that I had two choices. Either let go of that goal and just go, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm ever married or not. And that would be a fine goal if that's what I wanted. Or to set that goal and then actually do it, to actually prepare myself and go out on a date. And so I chose the latter. Okay, I'm going to do this. And I was scared out of my mind. I had been divorced for at that time for about 23, 24 years. And I just really, my heart was in my throat as I started looking at um, dating platforms, and I kept being drawn to eHarmony. I don't know why, but I just spirit, that was the intuition I was getting. And so I actually had signed up on their profile, and before I hit click, like, yes, I'm going to do this, I called my friend and I said, I don't know if I can do this. And she said, just do it. Just do it. And I'm like, okay. And so I hit click, and it took me a couple days before I'd even look at my matches. I was that scared. And as soon as I did, I started looking at the matches, and eHarmony actually tells you, because you take a quiz, that matches you up supposedly with people. And so it shows you the highest matches if it's close to 100% of a match. And so I was looking at my matches, and he looks like a nice guy. And so I just wrote a quick note, hey, just liked your profile, would love to just connect with you. It was real brief, and I just sent it off. And the first guy, the next day, or messaged me back on the platform and said, I've met the love of my life, and thank you. I hope you meet the love of your life too. And I was like, oh my God. Well, that's not good for my first try. Okay. I didn't know at the time that that's a standard no answer that you can choose. If someone contacts you and you don't want to hear from them again, they give you a list of things, and that's one of them. So I thought, okay, I chose 3 other guys, and I send out the same message. Hey, I like your profile. Just wanted to see if maybe we could connect. And within 5 minutes, one of them answered me back immediately. I'm not interested in you. Goodbye. I was like, whoa, this is harsh stuff. I don't know if I'm ready for online dating or not. And the other 2 never answered me ever. And I just thought, okay, I'm 0 for 4 right now. And I let a couple of days go by. 2 days went by, and I was meeting with a group of friends on Zoom. And, that kind of hurt my heart. I thought, I'd kind of like to meet somebody. And if you don't even get the chance to meet somebody. But then I thought, wait a minute. It doesn't matter whether they answer me or not. All that matters is me loving me for who I am. The rest will take care of itself. And so I said to my friends, if I never get anybody on eHarmony to answer me, that's okay. I've made myself available. I followed through on my commitment. That was what I was intuited to do. And if it doesn't work, then I'll get the next step, and I'll move on. So I quit my Zoom meeting, and I thought, let me just check eHarmony one more time. And as I opened up eHarmony, there was a message from a guy named Bob. And I thought, wow, I didn't even reach out to him. He just reached out to me. And he said something about my pretty blue eyes or something like that. And I thought, okay, either he's a really nice guy, or maybe he's like somebody from, a scammer. But so my antenna was still up. But I answered him back, I like your profile too. And anyway, the next day we messaged back and forth many times. The day after that, we just started talking on the phone, and we have been inseparable ever since. Now, here's the crux of the matter here, that what was really going on with me was this. I had a core belief. I had a box. I had a box for my watermelon. And that box was this, and I'm going to get real personal here, that no one would love me until I lost weight. Maybe you can relate to that. We're all working on something, right? I just happen to be working on something that's pretty visible. But maybe there's something that you have that's the equivalent of that. Maybe it's not wait, but you have something, I won't get X until I get Y, or until I do Y. And so that's what I was working on. That's the real inner work that was happening. And when I got to that place, you know what? If no one ever answers me on eHarmony, I'm okay. I'm a divine, beautiful essence that is here. And that was really my lesson. That was my lesson. And as soon as that happened, the box was broken, and that allowed Bob to come through. And to this day, he says, I have no idea why I reached out to you. He said, that's so unlike me that I would do anything like that, because he's a shy, introverted guy. So sometimes we have to let go of our certainties. We have to let go of who we think we are. Do you understand what I mean by that? That we think that we're something, and we have to let go of that idea in ourselves. And so when you and I are in that space of knowing, hey, if I'm really going to grow, what am I certain about that is holding me back? And I was certain that no one could love me until I lost weight. And what I ended up finding out was that until I loved myself exactly the way I was, I could have been on, done handstands. I could have, you name it. I wouldn't have been able to manifest what I really wanted, my heart's desire. And so where are you in this place as well? Where are you in determining, I keep trying. I know that there's something that's happening here, and yet I can't get to this. I can't get the consciousness up there. What is your law? Ask yourself that. What is your law? Let go of your certainties, because growth is requiring you to, you're getting too crowded in that box, and growth requires you to move beyond that. So our real work is to understand and know that law is always working for us, always, always. And I can't expect to manifest my dreams unless I put in the work, unless I do my inner work and then follow that up with whatever I'm led to do with action. And you know, CLF, Creative Living Fellowship, is at a wonderful turning point right now. You're in a place where manifestation can start coming just like that. And I'm asking you to recognize that you, and I'm speaking to you individually, you have the power now to help manifest what you want to explore in this wonderful community. Because are there certainties that you have about what CLF is or isn't? If you think CLF is a building, let that go. That's an old idea. It's gone. If you think CLF is just one person, let that go. It's gone. CLF is a community and consciousness, period. It's community and consciousness, period. And you are part of that community. You are part of that consciousness. Are you bringing the very best of you? Are you working on you so that you show up the very best of yourself? And are you uplifting, not tearing down, are you uplifting so that your community gets to thrive and grow and be all that it can be? I wish I was there with you, because you are at such a wonderful opportunity right now to create from the ground up what it is that you want to create within this community. And you have a fabulous leader in Dr. Sherry, who is helping this community to coalesce and come together and grow its consciousness. Woo! You can do mighty works out there, and you can grow and thrive and be all that you want it to be. Just, you got to get rid of some of those boxes. And so you are here to grow fully and freely. You are a spiritual law unto yourself. That's the essence of what we're here to do. Because true religious scientists, they show up, they bring their best, and they're open to being teachable. We all need to be teachable. We all have to know that, okay, there's times when I have to learn too. It doesn't stop. It doesn't ever stop. I used to think, oh, someday I'll just be able to drift along in my consciousness. No, that's not what I signed up for this incarnation. I get to grow until the last breath I take, and then I get to grow in a whole nother experience. But in this experience, I continue to grow, and I continue to be teachable. That's being a religious scientist, in my opinion, is open to the great teaching that we are always evolving. So back to my story. Here I was fighting the law. Well, no one will love me. No one will love me. And as soon as I made that determination that I'm pretty darn good, and you know what, I'm a wonderful evolving being. I'm a work in progress. And Bob shows up. Now, Bob lived in Indianapolis. I thought that I was going to get people in North Carolina, but the matches went further out. Well, he said, you know what? He said, if you're there, I'm going to be there. So I went up to Indianapolis a couple weeks after we met. And in that first weekend, we just knew that this was it. And I'll show you a picture of what a picture that I took that particular weekend, and I shared it with my friends, and they were like, "Yep, looks like you're totally in love." But this is Bob, and we have been inseparable because 8 days after I came back from that trip, he moved down here, moved in with me. A few days later, he proposed to me, and we got married on November 1st of last year. So we're coming up. August 18th was the day we met online, and we're coming up on our year anniversary. And I got to tell you, if I knew love could be this good, I would have worked on my consciousness a whole lot more. This is the best thing, and marrying this man was the best decision I ever made. It's amazing to me how I let something get in the way, and I know that everything's in divine right order. But if I'd known that it could be this good, I guess I have a thicker skull than some, and it took me a little while longer. Everything came about in the divine right time for me. And Bob is just the best thing that ever happened to me. And I know that part of that is because I was willing to be teachable. I was willing to be teachable. So when you get to that place where you're feeling, hey, I'm doing my work, but I'm still feeling stuck, what box have you created around yourself? Because now my new life plan has a new goal. And that goal is to create a conscious marriage, a conscious and intentional marriage. That's my new goal. Instead of getting married, got that one, crossed that off the list. Took me 23 years, but that's okay. I finally did something about it. And we're all teachable. We're all works in progress. So the law is simply awaiting our recognition of it, to know that the highest and best is already unfolding. And if we can just get ourselves out of the way, life will be magnificent. It is magnificent. And so I just know for you that you too can show up in all your glory, in all your teachability, and know the truth of who you are. And so know with me that as we move into this week, just how powerful a manifester you really are, and that you have the creative power within you to co-create with the God within you that which is yours to claim. Know that. I will know it for you. If you can't know it, I'll know it for you. And if you still can't know it, get thee to a practitioner, because we will know the truth for you. That's the whole idea behind this. When we get stuck, we get to know that someone else can know it for us. Let's take these ideas into prayer. Okay, I've just processed a lot. So let's just take a deep breath in and let it out. And as we let it out, we know the truth of our glorious beings, that we are divine essences, fully available to all the magnificence and the glory of the Spirit that is constantly moving to us and through us. The God qualities that are already deeply ingrained within us. Every bit of wisdom we'll ever need, every bit of consciousness that will ever be there is already there. It's ours for the claiming. And so we step up in our spiritual mind right now and say, I'm ready to play larger. I'm done with playing small. And I'm ready to be that which I came to be, which is nothing less than a fully manifesting, glorious essence of spirit. And so I know that as I do so, I empower everyone in my world to do so as well. And so I claim today that all is well in my world, and that any boxes that I might have created that no longer serve me are now blasted back into the nothingness from which they came. And so I know that there is nothing holding me back, nothing, and no thing can come between me and my good. And so I simply lift myself to an idea of expression, of expansion, and of claiming all the good that is mine to claim. And so I simply know that the words that I have spoken here have now gone on. The vibration, the very vibration is now creating and manifesting over and over and over. It is uplifting anyone who has ears to hear. And I know that I am simply the mouthpiece of God this morning, simply stating the truth that is resonating deeply within each and every person to know their own truth and to know that all is well in their world as well. And so I simply bless our time together this morning, knowing that this is the holy instant. This is the moment where potentiality is birthing into something new. I claim it, I know it, I am it. Oh, with a grateful heart, I just say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit, for all that is and all that is yet to be. And so it is. Amen.